Welcome in to the early line. I'm Kevin Walsh, joined by Donnie right side here on Sports Grid on a Monday morning. Lot to get to. Lot happened over the weekend. Lot happening this week. DRS, how you feeling?
Yep, get excited, people, because why this week, Kevin? Week 0 of college football begins, and I've been trying to hype Kevin up for months that week 0 is the place to be, and we finally have our destination coming up.
Incredible. Less than 30 seconds into the show, Donnie already lying. Let's see how many times he lies throughout these 7-7 top headlines. I have a feeling that I told you so is going to manage to sneak its way into this one, despite the fact that he's not been able to see what's going on in Pittsburgh for quite some time. Kenny Pickett enters the game in the first half, little first-team reps, and he enters the game before Mason Rudolph. As we try and sort through the Steelers' quarterback depth chart, the offensive rookie of the year favorite in Kenny Pickett continues to impress and looks like right now the backup to Mitch Trubisky, clearing the path potentially for him to get in sooner than later.
He should be the backup quarterback, right? If you have a 3-man rotation that you're looking at in the preseason, Kenny Pickett can't be the third guy, because if Mitchell Trubisky starts or Mason Rudolph starts, once they falter, you got to go to Pickett because you're turning out it's probably going to be a lost season already. He's handled everything the Pittsburgh Steelers have thrown at him, including dominant performance in week 1 and week 2. If there is a dominant performance in the preseason, he's shown us he's an NFL quarterback. His time is coming shortly, but I don't think it's going to be by week 1.
We'll see who the Steelers are playing in week 3. That is going to be an interesting thing there if they give Pickett even more reps with potential first-teamers there. Interesting stuff to follow. Also interesting to follow the Tom Brady saga, if you will. Sometimes I wonder, outside of the bubble here that we have, is this a saga for other people? For Don, it's the biggest story in the history of sports until Brady is back with probably in the next 48 hours or so. Tampa Bay Bucks letting everybody know they're expecting Brady back early this week.
Yeah, I would like to take off work and, tell people an estimated or a guesstimate timeline of when I'm going to return. Hey, Todd, when's he coming back? I don't know. Hey, Todd, that didn't go over well in the media. Even if you don't know, come out and say it. When's he coming back, Todd? Earlier this week? I guess it is. It's amazing here that a guy left his team in a lurch in the preseason, and nobody seems to care. We'll see when Tom Brady comes back, because I want to put him right in front of a mic and say, where did you actually go and how? In the media, day and age, Kevin, we don't have pictures or places where Tom Brady has been. Where has he been? Locked in the film room in his house in Tampa? I don't buy it.
No cameras allowed on set at the Masked Singer, man. I mean, what don't you understand? Tom Brady, though, will be back earlier this week, according to the Bucs. We'll see if that holds up. We'll see if he plays any preseason action. One guy who maybe will play a little preseason, but if he is going to play, it's going to be with the team that he was already on. That's Roquan Smith. No longer going to be holding out here with the Chicago Bears, deciding to, quote, bet on himself and ride out the final year of his rookie contract.
This is code for a front office saying you're not a quarterback or you're not a wide receiver, which is where everybody gets paid. You are a linebacker. It seems like a dinosaur position in the NFL. Why don't you come play and make some money, or else sit out and we'll just fine you? He chose the better path there. Let me at least get paid until I'm out of Chicago.
I do wonder how many teams were calling on Roquan Smith. How many teams were offering what on Smith there? Did he also maybe find out not only are the Bears playing hardball, but maybe he needs to have a big season to really up the amount of suitors going into his free agency that will come at the end of this year. The radio audience is live on a Monday morning. Kevin Walsh, Donnie, right side of the early line on Sirius XM, channel 159. Last preseason headline, Matt Corral done for the season. A foot injury is going to cost him his entire rookie year, though perhaps a bigger piece of news in name than impact. Corral firmly looked like the fourth best quarterback in the Panthers locker room.
Yep, almost one of those things, Kevin, that NFL teams do so many times this time of year. If you have a young player you don't want to lose, but you clearly see he's not ready to be an NFL player, it's the stash move. Now, granted, I don't think you're going to take a hammer and break his foot and say, there you go, Liz Frank is going to be out for the remainder of the year. I don't think that's the case, but this isn't a bad break if you get the pun right there from Matt Corral. He'll learn on the sideline to get bigger, stronger, get in the film room, come back next year, see what he could do.
I think for Corral, it's interesting what kind of team he walks back into. Could be a new coach, Has Baker completely taken advantage of the opportunity this year? We'll see. A lot is going to change from now until the next time Corral is available to play football for the Carolina Panthers. In baseball news, the New York Mets squeak one past the Philadelphia Phillies 10-9, high-scoring baseball. The Phils dealing with some injuries in their bullpen and opening up opportunities for the Mets in this series.
Yeah, you can't get out to a 4-run lead and a 3-run lead in that game and lose both of those leads, then lose the game overall. A lot of balls flying out of the ballpark yesterday, 3-run home runs. The Phillies shouldn't have lost that game. A lost series for the Phillies now going up against the Mets is what it is, K-Dub.
How about those Los Angeles Dodgers? The Dodgers beating the Marlins 10-3? Ah, come on. How much of a headline is it? Yeah. Well, how about taking Sandy Alcantara for 3 2/3 innings, 10 hits, 6 earned runs, making light work of the runaway NL Cy Young favorite?
How about that, man? Dodgers filet fish. Sign that guy if whoever made that headline out there. Shout out to that guy. But that's a fantastic performance by the Dodgers and your boy Papois on the mound, right?
Yeah, certainly was. It says it there. You needed to make sure you got your credit, huh? All right, you got it. How about in UFC news? My goodness. Kamaru Usman, perhaps the best fighter in the world, pound for pound against Leon Edwards. Minus 1,400 favorite going into round 5. 1 minute left. Head kick, knockout. Edwards stuns Usman. We'll be right back.
The morning after.
How would you try to fix what is happening with the Yankees currently?
I personally don't think it's time to smash the panic button yet. Something Aaron Judge said the other day, better to go on a run like this now in mid-August when you have a bit of a cushion in the division than when you're right about to go into October or when you are in October. They have the experienced veterans who have been there before. They have the youthful talent, but you got to get hot at the right time. You got to lean on depth in the pitching staff.
The Sports Grid Network. Fantasy Sports Today.
Chris Olave can give you a lot. Chris Olave is a very polished wide receiver, great route runner, great speed, great hands. He is NFL ready. This guy is just ready, hit the ground running. I think Drake London will go and get a little bit more buzz because of where he was selected. And people say, oh, he's the only guy there. Yeah, he's the only guy there. But it's the island of misfit toys in Atlanta. So you have to understand that. Whereas you have Winston, you have Michael Thomas, you have a more complete offense.
The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
This was a surprise to me. I was anticipating a much harsher ruling on Deshaun Watson. It's hard to view this as not a win for the Deshaun Watson side of things, Donnie.
They lost big time on this overall result, Kevin. There is going to be moments where other players in the NFL mess up. The precedent is set here that the NFL, not too serious about stuff like this.
Only on Sports Grid.
You might be the next daily fantasy millionaire. No matter what you watch or where you play, learn from the world's best DFS players. Lineup building tools, expert projections, and advanced stats change the way you play the game. Dominate the competition. DailyRoto.com, the player's choice.
Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
They play less games.
The early line.
Take a look at the top 4 seeds here in the Big Ten. They're going to play less.
Aaron Rodgers and
the morning
Russell
after.
Wilson. We saw movement in the marketplace like Orlando.
Fantasy Sports
the
Today.
Cleveland Cavaliers are a little thin as well.
Newswire.
Minus 160 favorite on the money line today for Arizona.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
That's where they win cups. They win Stanley Cups over there. Give me the
Game time
Kind
decisions.
of bizarre when you consider everybody is out for the Warriors.
In-game live all access.
I like Vandy against Bama. I think Vandy can win the game, take it 4.5.
In-game live, prime time.
The PGA champion.
In-game live, overtime.
done before the final bet.
Get the winning edge. Only on Sports Grid.
Live right here on Sports Grid, taking a look at some of the top stories that came out of this week and preseason action. And for me, it starts with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the only first-round quarterback in Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett being viewed as the guy in the room with the highest ceiling should not be much of a debate. But the Steelers run things a little differently there. They ran to go sign Mitchell Trubisky. They offered up an idea that Mason Rudolph was their favorite quarterback in the sport for so long, yet drafted Pickett. But it did not seem like they were going to give Kenny Pickett any legitimate chance to win this job. Slowly but surely throwing him some first-team reps. And now it seems at the minimum has jumped up to the number 2 quarterback on this Pittsburgh depth chart. A couple of first-team reps in this preseason game against the Jacksonville Jaguars and entering the game before Mason Rudolph. Would you say, DRS, that we have now seen Pickett at least jump up firmly to QB2 in Pittsburgh?
Yes, and I do believe that was the game plan here for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Kevin, because when you draft a kid in the first round and you say, well, maybe we signed a starter, let's see what happens, and you could get interesting, can't play, because we've seen it with the Seattle Seahawks in the past with Russell Wilson overtaking him as rookie. I believe it was Matt Flynn at the time that they got from Green Bay and said, look, this kid's just better. Forget about the money, forget about signing a guy free agency. We got to play the best player, and that was Russell Wilson. So maybe you turn out and get that from Kenny Pickett, but I always think all along it was, let's not put a ton of pressure on the kid, and I keep on using the term, put a little bit more food on his plate, Kevin, week to week to week here, whether it's the OTAs or heading into the preseason or even heading up to game week here in week 1. Let's see how he handles it. He's passed with flying colors all the way around. So I think if you're a Steelers fan or at least a front office guy for the Pittsburgh Steelers, your plan is working to perfection right now.
If you are the Steelers, though, with just one preseason week left, do you consider running Pickett out there in a legitimate show me what you can do versus Mitch Trubisky? Because I think it would make sense. Here's why. If Trubisky is your guy, shouldn't be able to outplay the rookie. If Kenny Pickett outplays him, then doesn't he give you the best chance to be your quarterback here? Because what nobody's going to be able to tell me is, well, Pickett's clearly earned this job throughout camp. No, he hasn't. The reports where Trubisky looks like he's never seen a football before throughout this training camp here. So, Donnie, why not next week give Pickett a real chance to win this job head-to-head over Trubisky?
Well, I mean, it also doesn't come down to gameplay here in the preseason. Now, you want to take a look at Kenny Pickett, who's played very well in games 1 and 2. Trubisky's been okay, and same as Mason Rudolph. You're winning these games in the reps in practice, 7-on-7 drills, how you're commanding the huddle. What happens when you're in the film room here and Trubisky's picking everything up and Kenny Pickett's not, or even vice versa at that point. But I don't think if we're coming down to a week 3, we say, all right, Kenny Pickett, I'm going to give you 4 quarters. You got there and win this football game, have a completion percentage over 60%, you're going to start week 1. I do think their mind is made up, and I think it's a perfect scenario here, Kevin, because there's not a lot of pressure on the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you look at the odds on the FanDuel Sportsbook, they're in last place right now to win their division. So I think there's a perfect handoff point where you say, all right, Kenny Pickett, you're going to play this season, because unless Mr. Trubisky opens up at 6-4 through 10 games, 7-3 through 10 games, you're going to be in there in a pressure-free environment to go out and play. Whether or not you can lead us to a wild card at that point or division title, that's going to be left up in the air. But I think it's a perfect handoff point for the Steelers to say, let's go with the veteran guy. If it works out well, fantastic. If it doesn't, we go to Kenny Pickett, and this is his team for the future.
I know that you don't have any expectations on the Steelers because deep down you know Trubisky is terrible. I promise you in Pittsburgh, they're not, hey, guys, look, 6-11, it is what it is. We got this young kid, and we got plenty of time to figure this out. That's not what they think. You know that. You know that's not what they think. They think that Trubisky is going to give them the best chance to win them games. So then let's find out if that's so. Because, again, you can't try and spin it. You cannot tell me he's earned it throughout practice when the reports were he is doing everything under his power to lose this job. Let's check in with another one of our favorite rookies, Romeo Doubs. Scores again this preseason. 2 touchdowns now. He's 2 for 2. He's 16-1 to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year. However, he right now is slated as the 4th wide receiver on the Packers depth chart. to the point where it has been reported by legitimate people, all right, that Aaron Rodgers wants the starting wide receiver trio to be Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, and Sammy Watkins. So just that we have this in all clear, right? Felt like there was about 15 wide receivers drafted in the first round. But the wide receiver that we're all going to gravitate towards is an offense where we're not really sure about the passing attack because of the lack of wide receiver talent. The fourth guy on the depth chart in Romeo Doubs at 16-1. Man, there's not been a single time, Donnie, where I've said, you know what? I've been wrong about this. I need to get on the Romeo train here and back this guy to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. No way, no how, man.
I'm telling you, over the past decade in the NFL, one of the more boring teams, yes, I'm saying it, was the Green Bay Packers. And what's the reason behind that, Donnie? What can you say they're boring? They're one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Devontae Adams is out there because you knew what you were getting every single year. There was no intrigue from the Packers. Hey, Packers are going to open up the season. Yep, they're the favorites in the division. Yep, they're probably going to win at least 12 games. They'll be home in Lambeau Field, and then some physical team will come in and beat them around and knock them off. And then the next year we'll say to ourselves, hey, why don't you get Aaron Rodgers some help? And Aaron Rodgers will say, hey, white guys, why don't you give me some help? Sure, no problem, Aaron. We'll get a couple cornerbacks, a linebacker, a backup offensive lineman. And, oh, yeah, you're going to love this stuff. We're going to draft quarterbacks as well. That's all the help you're going to need. So now you enter into this season. I'm fascinated. I am absolutely fascinated when you have a quarterback of this caliber that has wide receivers of this caliber. And we're talking about undrafted, low round pick, free agents off the waiver wire, rookies that are supposed to step in and have a good job. Can you imagine this? Like, what would we be talking about in Packers camp right now if Devontae Adams had signed with the Packers for a massive deal with Aaron Rodgers? You never hear about Romeo Doubs. You never hear about Aaron Rodgers saying, you know what, man, Lazard, Cobb, Watkins, that's what's it. You wouldn't hear any of that. You would hear probably a 13-4 team ready to easily win that division and be the number one overall seed in the NFC. So finally for me, Kevin, the Packers are an interesting team heading into 2022.
And I'm sure some people are out there watching and listening saying, oh, these guys don't get it, man. That's why Dobbs is the guy. Because Devontae is gone. It's the opportunity that's there. He's entering the year as wide receiver 4. By the way, I know that but one of those guys is Randall Cobb. I think Randall Cobb might lead this team in touchdowns. Because if you ever seen how much Aaron Rodgers likes Randall Cobb, it might be the only reason he's still in Green Bay. So yes, I'm well aware that opportunity is abound, and I'm still not motivated to think that Romeo Doubs is the guy to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Let's sneak this one in before we get to some other news in our next segment here. Matt Corral done for the season. Look, here's the way. I think this is a bit of a tough break. I think maybe you have a little more optimistic look than I do. But the way this sport works is you want the guys in the room that drafted you to be sticking around. Who knows who comes back the next time Matt Corral is ready to play football. Matt Rule looks like he has the hottest seat of maybe any coach in the sport. Maybe Pete Carroll, but I don't think Pete has any idea how to check the temperature on the chair. All in all, Baker Mayfield was brought in to be the guy. And if he is the guy, well, then you're not the guy. And also, Corral was awful. While a limited sample size, I understand, these are reps that he is missing now. Everything that was going on at Ole Miss, how transferable was that to what he was supposed to do in the NFL? I'm not so sure. I think this is a tough blow for the career outlook on Matt Corral.
Yeah, I don't know how tough it is because, as I said, we didn't expect a lot out of him, but there were those notions before he even came into training camp, Kevin, that maybe if things really went off the rails, like Baker Mayfield was bad, Darnold got maybe an ankle injury, and Philip Walker, he said, let's just see what Corral has over the final 7-8 games of the season. That might have helped him out, but I don't think this is a bad thing for his career. He's ultra-talented. Sit him on the sideline, bigger, faster, stronger. See you next year.
It's fun. If they never brought in Baker and Corral stayed healthy, we would have been asking, when does he take the job off of Sam Darnold?
That's true.
Now no football for Matt Corral this year. A lot to get to, though, next. Sticking with the NFL on the early line on Sports Grid.
Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
people are going to the betting window
Betting
and
above
betting
the
them now
rim.
before the trade takes place.
How dare
Diamond
they
bets.
do what's fiscally responsible? See how it plays out. Buffalo's going all in right
Football
now. They need
full
to put
circle.
all their chips in the middle of the table. It's do or die for
And
them.
Godwin being out, they've had a little bit of a shakeup.
In-game live all
You
access.
could take the points, you could take the money line, and
We have to go to San Jose too. Maybe a small play on San Jose. I'm gonna go both underdogs here. I don't want to hear it anymore.
Wow. In-game
Phillies here
live.
over
Prime
minus
time.
128. You do have to lay a little bit of wood here, Donnie, but I think against Patrick Corbin.
But boy, you want to give me 8.5 points with a desperate team facing
Get
elimination.
the winning edge. Only on Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The morning after.
I look at Deshaun Watson, now at this point, I'm just kind of looking forward to seeing, how does he come back? How does he look when he gets back on the field? And, especially more than anything, because we've talked about, hypotheticals time and time and time again of what's the suspension going to be. To actually have an answer, it's almost a little bit of a sense of relief, at least when it comes to the Cleveland side of it.
The Sports Grid Network. Pharrell, coast to coast.
How impressive do you think the Phillies are with Thor in that rotation with Wheeler, Nola, and it goes on and on?
I just think Atlanta has a shot not only to beat Philly, but clearly has a chance to beat the Mets. They imposed their will in the first two games in the series. The Mets look like they're going to be able to just, ride this down to the end and salt away the division. But it'll be a very interesting dynamic when those two teams play against each other.
The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
Let me help you, NCAA. We will wipe the bowl season out completely. We will put in a 30-team playoff at a minimum. We will wipe out the cupcake schedules, and everybody will eat at the end of the year. More money in your pockets, college football guys. More fun in my pocket here, and a chance for gambling on my end of it. It's a win-win
Only
scenario.
on Sports Grid.
Tom Brady watch continues, though the clock is ticking on that idea. Tom Brady expected to be back early this week for the Tampa Bay Bucs as they get closer and closer towards the start of this season and their trip to Dallas week 1. To me, I have been less concerned about this the entire way than Donnie has. Over the weekend, though, there's a lot of fun had as the Twitter sphere wondered, has Tom Brady been on the set of The Masked Singer? I believe it way more than I thought I would, but nevertheless, here we are. Brady expected back early this week. Donnie, are you still worried about Tom?
Yeah, I'm still running around on a victory lap here until this guy actually shows up in training camp. Then we're going to go back to the footage where I told you, man, come on, Kev. It's 10% chance that he actually sits out the rest of the season and retires. So no matter which way we go down this path, Kevin, the DRS was right all along the entire way through. Now, having said that, when is he coming back? Why hasn't he put any of these rumors? Tom Brady is a physical specimen on Twitter. He loves Twitter. He loves social media. Since leaving the New England Patriots, front and center, he has a Twitter team and a PR team behind him. He's very good on Twitter. You trying to tell me he wasn't reading this going, hey, man, they think I'm on the singing show here with the Masked Singer. I could be in Aruba. I could be in Fiji at this point. I could be at home. I could be in Tampa Bay. I could be in Las Vegas. He didn't put out any feelers here, and I still want to believe that there is that chance that Tom Brady is still mulling over retirement, because I love the fact that Todd Bowles, the head coach of the team, trying to get his team ready. You ask him, when's he coming back? Early in the week? Later in the week? Maybe not. Let me check on him. I'm sure we'll be in touch with him later in the day. Unbelievable circumstances here for the Tampa Bay Bucs.
You have to stop editing the Todd Bowles press conferences to fit your description.
It is.
You clearly have never watched any of them, read any of the things he said. He is calm the entire time. He is straightforward the entire time. But you keep spinning them as if every time they mention Tom's name, he starts to look around and a shiver runs down his spine. No, Bowles has been confident. Yeah, he'll be back. I'm worried about the preseason game in front of us. We are fine. It is Tom Brady. I understand that you want this to be a crazy, bizarre, oh my goodness, who could have seen it thing, but it's not going to be. Unless, well, give it about, I don't know, a month, I think, from actually today might be when the Masked Singer debuts, and we can all see how Tom performs, what kind of singing voice the absolute best quarterback to play the sport has. With that being said, the other piece of news this week involves someone that was actually holding out in Roquan Smith, and that all being blown apart. Now, we could talk about why this was a failure for Roquan Smith. We could talk about the value of the linebacker position, but we don't need to do that. What we need to talk about is the fact that the Bears just maybe got their best defensive player back, and this is the football team that is often viewed as, for some, the worst in the NFL. There are people who are low as can be on the Chicago Bears. Win total for this group, 5.5. Make the playoffs, plus 410. To finish fourth in their division, minus 140. Big gap, it looks like, even between just the Bears and the Lions. Roquan Smith is back. Justin Fields still flashes here and there. Count out the Bears, maybe. A little too early. Any chance this group can surprise?
I don't know, maybe surprise in getting to their team total or saying, hey, Kevin, there's 3 weeks to go. I need one more win. Can I get there? Maybe so. But we're still looking at a team that's devoid of a lot of talent. You have a new regime coming in that's basically checking to see what they have in the cupboard, and later on in the season trying to evaluate and heading into the offseason figuring, do we need to go out and get a new franchise quarterback, or is Justin Fields our guy? The only issue with that, Kevin, is you hired a defensive coach to be your head coach. And then you said, Justin Fields, we're going to evaluate this year for you. Let's see what you got. Coach, you didn't really give me an offensive line. So what? I got a pretty good running back. Yeah, deal with that. How about wide receivers? Mooney's okay. Tight end? Serviceable at this point. You didn't help him out all that much. So surprising fashion, if you have a good season for the Bears, Justin Fields is probably getting MVP votes at this point because he's going to be running for his life, and maybe there's a chance for him to pick up 700, 800, 900 yards on the ground to keep the Bears competitive, Kevin. But outside of that, you try to get a little bit excited when you see Justin Fields make some splash plays and then go, man, watch a lot of NFL football, in the past, and will do so in the future. If a quarterback needs to make constant splash plays for you to just hit your team total, it's going to be a long year for the Chicago Bears.
I think the point about Justin Fields and the scrambling that he's going to need to do can't be stressed enough when we talk about season-long props on Justin Fields rushing totals. Some of my favorite numbers that we've seen as we've kind of set the table for stuff like that preseason, and we'll circle back to a lot of that next week. This week, we're going to hit you with a lot of good college football conference preview. We're getting to the ACC, and now we're too excited about that. But, yeah, I think the Justin Fields rushing angle is live because the offensive line does feel nightmarish. The wide receiver group, could it surprise? Again, it depends how low your expectations are. But in terms of, surprise and be a top half of the league group, no, I don't see a ceiling that represents anything near that. And here's the other thing about Roquan Smith's return. I like Roquan Smith. Coming off of not that great a season, all in all. That's part of the reason that maybe the Chicago Bears have a little bit of hesitation on their middle linebacker here, is that it's been maybe more up and down than we're meant to believe on Roquan in the center of this defense. Pro Football Focus grade last year was under 50. It's pretty bad. Certainly not what you're looking for a guy that you want to pay big-time money. Would I rather have Roquan Smith than not? Yeah, probably, and hope that he can pop off. But this is a young, inexperienced group with, again, just a lot of question marks, it feel like, littered throughout. Maybe you could sell yourself on Robert Quinn coming off of a nice season, but, how much is that ultimately going to change the outlook here? So do I think they can surprise in terms of maybe being better than the worst team in the NFL? Sure. But that minus 140 to finish in fourth place in this division is more enticing than I thought it would be. Because if they finish in front of the Packers or the Vikings, I can't even... You have to imagine quarterback injury all of a sudden checked into the equation there. And maybe I'm drinking some Hard Knocks Kool-Aid, but would you take Donnie minus 140 in the head-to-head bet that the Lions finish better than the Chicago Bears this year?
I mean, I probably would just take the plus money in that situation, whoever had the plus money, because are we led to believe, look, I know we're ripping a lot on the Bears, and you can't really get all that much out of preseason football, but we know coming into the season, you're just measuring, Kevin, roster for roster for roster, and the Bears clearly are devoid of talent. But that doesn't mean that the Detroit Lions, just because their head coach is fun to watch and Deuce Staley gets after with, Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, that they're just going to have a good season because they're on Hard Knocks. They were a horrendous football team last year. We have to remember they still have Jared Goff. So this isn't like, wow, they're so far in fourth place that they won't be able to see their way out. Like the way we view the Seattle Seahawks in the NFC West, seems like they're pretty far down there. We're shocking if they actually finish out of the basement. I'm not so sure when the Detroit Lions are the team that you're just trying to fight with, Kevin, to get out of the basement. I would just take the plus money between the Detroit Lions and the Chicago Bears, and I'd live with that.
And that's a fair point, right? I think let me see if I could pop this up quickly here. The odds for the Chicago Bears, obviously, like we said, is minus 140. Where you could ultimately find that number then on the Lions in terms of the finishing position is, I think, like plus 210. Well, the Bears to finish third is plus 210. So the Lions, again, would check in somewhere around that range, right? I think you have plus 125 for the Lions to finish fourth there. So that's kind of where your plus price would be. I think the Lions have a lot more in terms of an offensive line and offensive skill positions. Between Amon St. Brown and DeAndre Swift coming back, TJ Hawkinson's actually one of the better tight ends in the sport. I think Goff has way more to work with than Justin Fields. Like if you swap the two quarterbacks, am I lower on the Lions? Definitely not, probably higher on the Lions. But the scenarios, I think, point a lot more favorably towards Jared Goff and what that offense can bring to the table here. Want to sneak in any other preseason thoughts that we had as we were watching? And I'll make this pretty quick. I understand that everyone's going to offer up the caveats, but it's preseason. I don't care. Pat Mahomes has went out there for 3 drives so far this preseason. He has looked absolutely unstoppable, leading a 72-yard touchdown drive in game number 1, and then over the weekend, an 87-yard touchdown drive on his first one against the Commanders, and an 82-yard touchdown drive on his second one. His stat line over these 3 drives, 18 of 26 for 222 yards, and throwing for 3 touchdowns, a touchdown pass on every single one of these. I picked Pat Mahomes to win the MVP last year. There were a couple of times where I thought that he was going to rise back up. He didn't. Ultimately, Rodgers was able to repeat. I don't want to find myself in a scenario where I pick Pat Mahomes to an MVP every single season from now until the end of time, but it might not be a bad bet. This guy was absolutely phenomenal again, and I think the Tyreek Hill thing, while losing Tyreek is not meant to be a plus, I think it really does have him laser focused coming into this season. Donnie, any thoughts on that or anything else that caught your eye in the preseason?
Yeah, I'm not so much. I know a lot of people probably have that little flag up on the Kansas City Chiefs. No Tyreek Hill. Let's see where it works out. They're going to be just fine with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, who's still the most talented quarterback in football. But lack of the starters getting reps, Kevin, in the preseason really has my attention. And used to be, first game, you got 2 or 3 drives. Second game, you got the first quarter. Third game, you played the first half as you dress rehearsal. Fourth game, you didn't play at all. Now we have 3 games. So you figure week 2 is the time to get everything in. Yesterday, sitting down, I didn't do a ton of research between the Cleveland Browns and Philadelphia Eagles. Pick my pops up. You know what? Sunday afternoon, let's watch an NFL game here. Have some fun with the Eagles. Telecast comes on. No starters played. No starters played in week 2 of the preseason. Now, the point of the preseason, I get it. You got 3 games. The owners can charge money. You put it on TV, and it makes some sense. But my goodness here, they're playing less than ever and practicing less than ever. We'll see if that has any wear and tear in week 1 here.
Certainly something we'll keep our eye on. We pause on the NFL side of things. We talk some Major League Baseball. A lot of big action over the weekend. That's all next right here on The Grid.
You might be the next daily fantasy millionaire. No matter what you watch or where you play, learn from the world's best DFS players. Lineup building tools, expert projections, and advanced stats change the way you play the game. Dominate the competition. DailyRoto.com, the player's choice.
The early line.
This was a surprise to me. I was anticipating a much harsher ruling on Deshaun Watson. It's hard to view this as not a win for the Deshaun Watson side of things, Donnie.
They lost big time on this overall result, Kevin. There is going to be moments where other players in the NFL mess up. The precedent is set here that the NFL not too serious about stuff like this.
Only on Sports Grid. The morning after.
How would you try to fix what is happening with the Yankees currently?
I personally don't think it's time to smash the panic button yet. Something Aaron Judge said the other day, better to go on a run like this now in mid-August when you have a bit of a cushion in the division than when you're right about to go into October or when you are in October. They have the experienced veterans who have been there before. They have the youthful talent, but you got to get hot at the right time. You got to lean on depth in the pitching staff.
The Sports Grid Network. Pharrell, coast to coast.
Unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. $1 billion a year for a $7 billion deal, and we know that UCLA and USC are on board next year, right? This is what it's all about for the Big Ten, cornering the market in terms of the national viewership perspective. Doesn't get better than this. From 2023 and beyond, which team and which conference can capture the biggest market?
The Sports Grid Network.
Sports Professor Rick Harrow with your Daily Numbers Game. Well, are we betting in Williamsport? Pennsylvania allows mobile betting. How about on the Little League World Series? I think not, but the clear winner is the economic impact study that's done in eastern and central Pennsylvania every year. Parents come, relatives come. COVID wiped out the tournament then last year. No parents, no crowds. And the bottom line is this is one of those situations where we're making up for lost time. You're adding a couple of new teams. You're also increasing the bracket. Remember last year when a Michigan team won, there was no international side. The normal format focuses on the international side, the ESPN television deal, mega corporate sponsors, and tourism dollars that you couldn't even believe. Bottom line is getting back to normal could mean $100 million of economic impact for Pennsylvania.
Baseball board always offering up some big-time results over the course of the weekend here. And taking a look at some of the stuff that really jumped off the page for us, I think the appropriate starting point involves the St. Louis Cardinals because we've got some MVP odds on the move and a divisional race where the lead is beginning to increase. Right now, you have the St. Louis Cardinals priced at minus 550 to win the NL Central, a lead now that sits at 5 games over the Milwaukee Brewers. This is a Cardinals team that saw an opportunity and has absolutely run with it now, putting the Brewers in the rear view. And all the while, this has helped the odds, I believe, for Paul Goldschmidt. When we talk about NL MVP for a while, sat there minus 110. We weren't sure if anybody else was in the mix. Well, now the next guy closest to him is his teammate Nolan Arenado, but the gap is massive. Nolan Arenado 16-1. Paul Goldschmidt minus 370 to win NL MVP.
Yeah, kudos to Paul Goldschmidt here because when he was sitting at that 110 price, I just figured he was a placeholder. Somebody come up from behind and get this guy. Somebody surpass this guy. Give me another superstar out here because we know Paul Goldschmidt is playing well, but just seeing his name at the top of the leaderboard comfortably as the favorite, I just thought down the back stretch when they come here in Major League Baseball, somebody would be able to surpass him, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, that minus 370. The same way we talk about Aaron Judge at the FanDuel Sportsbook, and that shows up at a minus 470 price, you get the extra credit. credit by having a baseball team that has something to deal with down the stretch, meaning winning a division or improving your playoff standing. Goldschmidt right now is the best hitter on that St. Louis Cardinals team, and that Cardinals team is surging, so therefore Paul Goldschmidt's minus 370 is surging along with them. We talked about, or you just talked about the division races here. It seems like it's wrapped up. This is one of those teams, Kevin, which you were keyed into last year with the Cardinals. I said, man, they ain't making the playoffs. I just don't think they're good enough to get in. They go ahead and make a charge down the stretch. Now, this year, you see them neck and neck with the Brewers, which for the most part of the early season, Kevin, April, May, June, let's just say, it was the Brewers division to win. 1 game lead, 2 games lead, heavy favorite because why? Great starting pitching, great bullpen, timely hitting. They'll be able to hold off the Cardinals. The Cardinals made some really good trades at the deadline to help their team, and the Milwaukee Brewers said, hey, guys, sink or swim. Stick away your closer, not add anything at the plate. Vogelbach goes off and now playing for the New York Mets and playing well, and your team is sinking now 5 games back of the St. Louis Cardinals. And to me, you can never say never, Kevin, but we're looking at August 22nd. It's not July 22nd, June 22nd, or May 22nd. Time is shorter to make up a 5-game lead, and you have the Dodgers talking about the Brewers on deck here. The Cardinals might just run away with this before we even get to September.
One of the really interesting things, though, with the new postseason format is how this is all going to line up. While the Cardinals are hot, I think it is absolutely reasonable to expect the Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Mets to kind of have that gap in between where St. Louis is right now. The Cardinals are 15 games back of the Dodgers because, again, all that team ever does is win. But they're also a good ways back of the New York Mets. Not 8.5 games, 9.5 games in that range. For the Cardinals, you're likely then going to play whoever is that last final wild card team in the opening round, which is a really nice thing to know that you're not going to have to play potentially the Atlanta Braves in either of those first 2 rounds. Now, maybe that gets you kind of the date with the New York Mets, who I think is a little more of a threat, but the Braves are the reigning World Series champions there. But the thing is, the Cardinals still booked behind the San Diego Padres right now in the NL outright odds. I think with St. Louis, we always wonder how things are going to move. I feel like that might be the next jump for us to look at here. Again, it looks like the NL Central race is behind us. We'll see if that's so. Can St. Louis at 13-1 to win the National League jump in front of the Padres at 11-1 and maybe even impede on the Atlanta Braves, considering the Cardinals are obviously set right now to be a division winner and the Braves are set to be a wild card team?
It'll be interesting to see it play out because you're taking a look at the Padres here. What do we expect here? Well, Blake Snell's rounding into form, looking fantastic. Yu Darvish turning back into a Cy Young caliber pitcher. That 1-2-3 along with Joe Musgrove. You say, all right, add Fernando Tatis in there with Juan Soto, Manny Machado. That's the team with the most talent. That's the team's going to get over the hump. And that team also acquired Josh Hader. Hader's came over, hasn't looked all that great at this point. Fernando Tatis tests positive for a PED. He's out for the remainder of the year. So now you still have Juan Soto, Manny Machado, and a talented lineup, which isn't all that bad, and still have that frontline starting pitching. But I got to tell you, when you take a look at moves that have been made in baseball, particularly over the past, let's just say calendar year, you saw the Braves approach the trade deadline last year where they had a team that was like, okay, we might think we can get in the playoffs. Let's give them a little bit of push here, making shrewd moves. That was the Atlanta Braves. They ended up winning a World Series. I'm not saying the St. Louis Cardinals are doing the exact same things or can win a World Series, but some of the things that the St. Louis Cardinals did, you know what? Let's not go ahead and blow our team up and get a Juan Soto. Let's add a Montgomery. Let's add a Jose Quintana. Let's just add a little bit more firepower to go along with this offense that it's really coming into its own right now and see where it winds up. Well, it's really propelled them because they went from maybe a game or so back to now a 5-game lead in the Central. And this looks like it has the right mix of parts here heading down the stretch where they're not overpowering in any certain department, Kevin, but they're legitimate across the board. And that's all you really need once you get to the playoffs.
Sticking with the NL wildcard race, the Philadelphia Phillies certainly are going to be entrenched in this one here. The tough spot for this team is they bring the Mets into town, and the Mets handle business. And it's a very, very good baseball team in the New York Mets. One of the issues for the Phils, though, Donnie, is they found themselves a closer in Sir Anthony Dominguez, at least it looked like, heads to the IL yesterday. And the bullpen cost them in a major way. Used to be the story for the Phillies all of the time that it was the bullpen's fault here. How concerned are you right now about the Phils dropping 3 out of 4 at home and the overall state of this team to the New York Mets?
the Mets are really good, and the Mets are dominating the Phillies. Having said that, coming into this series, you said, all right, you got a 4-game set. One of those games is going to include a doubleheader. What if I would have told you they played all these games? The only game they won was a Bailey Falter start, which is incredible. You figured they would have had the advantage. And let's keep in mind, you can never get upset where you say, we have a 3-game series against the Mets. We're going to see DeGrom and Scherzer. You say to yourself, let's make sure we get one of these games and move on. You didn't face DeGrom or Scherzer in a 4-game set, and you lost 3 out of the 4 games. And the only game you won was Falter, which is the game that I thought they probably would get blown out in, where you figured you had Aaron Nola on the mound and you had Zach Wheeler at home, so you had the pitching matchups in your favor. You lost both of them. But here we are on a Sunday afternoon where you won the Falter game to end that doubleheader on Saturday. Sunday, let's just see what we can do. You get an early lead 4-0. Looks like you're going to cruise and say, all right, worst case scenario, we finished 2-2 in this series, move on, didn't lose any ground. That's what you have to do against the better teams in Major League Baseball. Hang around with those teams, but beat up on the teams you're supposed to beat. 4-run lead disappears. 3-run lead disappears. Unbelievable that the Phillies ended up losing that game yesterday. You can't do that. I don't mind the games, Kevin, where you have 3-2 late. Blown lead here. Or 2-1 lead from the first inning all the way through to the 8th and end up losing that one in extras. Those ones hurt. But you can't get up 3 and 4 runs at home and lose. I was at a Philadelphia Phillies-New York Mets game earlier in the season where the Phillies had a 7-run lead in the 8th inning and lost that ball game in the 9th inning. It's incredible, some of the losses that the Phillies have had to the Mets, but you got to pick up, dust yourself off, and get back to playing another bad baseball team today that you need to win against.
Well, here, and that is the thing, though, for the Phils. 4th easiest schedule remaining in baseball. Now, yeah, there's some games in there against Atlanta, 7, in fact. There's also 7 games against the Nationals and 6 against the Marlins, just to keep it with that division schedule outlook. So keep that in mind here when we're projecting for Philadelphia. I think you can, again, you never want to go too early on this stuff, but the San Francisco Giants look out of it, and it looks like this is going to dwindle down to the Padres, the Phillies, and the Brewers. 2 of those teams will get in, and 1 will be left standing and waiting. Oh, and by the way, if it is the Milwaukee Brewers, obviously, make sure you tune in for the victory lap there. Whether Josh Hader has lost it or not, you know how that's going to play out. Let's take a little bit of a look, though, at maybe the best race in baseball, probably so, and it's just the overall AL Central race. To be this deep into the season and to still have such a better... Here are the division prices that are up right now in the FanDuel Sportsbook, all right? Minus 30,000, Houston Astros. Minus 2,000, New York Yankees. Minus 850, New York Mets. Minus 550, St. Louis Cardinals. They're not even booking the Los Angeles Dodgers because why would they? And then the Guardians are plus 120. With the White Sox at plus 200 and the Minnesota Twins at a plus 240. Top 1, 2, 3 separated by 2.5 games right now. Nobody able to pull away still this deep into the season.
Doesn't it feel like, Kevin, as we sit here, probably the last, week and a half of August, I feel like these odds here, right, that plus 120, 200, and 240 are going to stay the same for the next couple weeks. So if we look at the standings right now, Guardians in first place currently, followed by the Twins and the White Sox. Obviously, the lead for the Guardians, Twins 1.5 games back, and then 2.5 for the Chicago White Sox. It feels like this could be the exact same scenario with 1 week to play in September, where we still don't know who's actually going to win. Because even if you look at those little snapshots, like 10-game shot, 6-4 Guardians, 5-5 Twins, 6-4 Chicago White Sox. Nobody's good enough to pull away. And this isn't one of those where you have a 2-team race, like we talk about the Cardinals and the Brewers, and everybody else stinks in that division. You have 3 teams that are going to jockey and play each other in the month of September. That's going to determine. If you think that the Guardians, hey, they've been up here the longest, they should probably stay there. They have the 1.5 lead. I understand it. Or if you think the Chicago White Sox said you've been waiting, or at least I have been waiting through April, through May, through June, through July, through now August, eventually the cream rises to the top and you are going to be able to overtake anybody, the Twins or the Guardians, because you were such a decided favorite before the season even started. It's time to just wipe the slate clean on this and say, this is a 3-team race without a month to play. Who wins it? And I don't know, is it as easy as saying the Guardians are in first place by 1.5 games? That's the way I'll go. It seems like a coin flip between all 3, but the team I trust the least, Kevin, those White Sox. I mean, come on now.
The White Sox have not earned our trust at all. The White Sox, though, do have the 5th easiest schedule remaining in baseball. Guardians not far behind, 9th easiest, middle of the pack there for the Minnesota Twins. I believe the 14th easiest schedules. I mean, so you could say the 16th most difficult there. Again, Minnesota kind of seems to be that one out of reach a little bit here. You try and see what is to come head-to-head, and you have got 3 games for the Guardians and the White Sox. Cleveland's going to have to play Minnesota 8. The White Sox have to play Minnesota 9. That is the thing that I just cannot get over, though. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's the fact that the Twins have 17 games remaining against these guys. They control their destiny more than any of the other 2 on the board, it feels like here to me. Yet check in into plus 240. But again, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Probably you'd rather just line it up against the Kansas City Royals 1,000 times from now until the end of the rope here, right? And Kansas City, it looks like is going to play the Guardians 9 times, the Twins 6, and the White Sox 4. Maybe that is just the difference maker. But the beautiful thing about this race is how it still then provides some big-time numbers in the outright American League odds, because one of them is going to have to get in. The White Sox 21-1, same number as the Guardians. Minnesota Twins 22-1. That's just fantastic stuff there from the FanDuel Sportsbook. Oh, and by the way, they got the Red Sox and the Orioles right now with the same number at 130-1. That is a little bit of slander. A little respect to the Baltimore Orioles. They have earned that much. Sat right now 2.5 back, though, of one of those spots. Right now, the Blue Jays, the Rays, and the Mariners all tied at the top. We'll be right back. It's the early line on Sports.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast.
Pickett was the only quarterback selected in the first round for a reason. Super accurate, good athlete, playing that same stadium in Pittsburgh. This is a good situation for him. I like the way Mike Tomlin is handling this. He's not naming anybody starting quarterback. Does Trubisky have the upper hand? Yes, that's a fact. But he's going to let Pickett get more reps here. Your guy Pickett, with your team, the Steelers, this is their future quarterback.
The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
The St. Louis Cardinals and then the Milwaukee Brewers moving in opposite directions.
We're just looking for lineup prowess here, 1 through 9. By far, it's the St. Louis Cardinals. My thought process isn't going to change, even if the 2 schedules, flip back and forth, and we might be looking at a dead heat once we're around September 15th. I still trust the Cardinals more than I do the Brewers, because if I need base hits, I can get them with the Cardinals.
Only on Sports Grid. The morning after.
The most important thing about preseason is making sure you get the key numbers of 1 and 2. Very, very important in preseason football. If a team's down 17-10, 50 seconds left in the game, they get a touchdown, you can guarantee the final score is going to be 17-16 or 18-7. They're going for 2. They're just trying to win the game, and it doesn't count anyway. So therefore, the 2 and the 1 becomes real important.
The Sports Grid Network. Fantasy Sports Today.
Take a look at those numbers. Do you think that he's being drafted about where he should, which is not being drafted at all?
I don't think he's your quarterback of the future. I think you are going to have to upgrade eventually. I understand the problem that Detroit's in. If you don't have a top 3, top 4 pick, it's hard to get that quarterback unless you're willing to give up all those picks. Do I think he's average? I think that's what you're shooting for. And I think he can be average, which might be good enough for this team for the the immediate future here.
The Sports Grid Network. Your heart's racing. The clock's running out. It all comes down to this. We're talking pregame. 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 Get locked in with Game Time Decisions. Your hosts, Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart, will get you ready for game time. Everything you need to know before a game goes off the board, with the bet slips to back it up. Make your best bet with live odds updates, late breaking news, up-to-the-minute injury reports, and real-time analytics from inside the sports books. All the odds, all the action, from sports wagering insiders and industry pros like Donnie Rightside, Cam Lou, Cousin Sal, the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, and more. Get the winning edge every weekday afternoon from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, 3 to 4 Pacific. It's Game Time Decisions. Only on Sports Grid.
All right, we made a little deal here. We were doing baseball. We're previewing a ton of Major League Baseball, a ton, to start hour number 2. But I missed something accidentally that I did want to bring up. Dana White was talking, as he likes to do, and said that he had brokered a deal to bring Tom Brady to Vegas. Not to fight into the octagon, but instead to join the Vegas Raiders instead of the Tampa Bay Bucks. Said Gronk was coming along for the ride as well. Said it was almost done. Brady was looking at houses until John Gruden nixed the entire thing. You know the Brady quote, "You're choosing him over me"? Is there a world where that him was John Gruden?
I love the story. I think it's fantastic. And it sort of plays into Tom Brady doesn't really want to be in Tampa Bay. Tom Brady never wanted to be in Tampa Bay because he wanted to be somewhere else, and maybe that place was the Vegas Raiders. But I love the fact that Dana White brokered this deal, which means he had Bill Belichick on the phone, had maybe Mark Davis on the phone, the owner of the Raiders, and everything was done. And nobody wanted to tell John Gruden that a 10-year, $130 million guaranteed contract, and he ran the entire organization. It was so secretive that he barely told his GM about who he was going to pick. It was just going to show with Tom Brady. But the fact that John Gruden nixed the deal, I have a hard time believing that one.
I do and I don't, though. John Gruden, I mean, I don't know. I love Derek Carr, man, the way this guy competes. Like, was that the angle there? He didn't want to.
He might have been expected to win
on
with Brady. Yeah.
My goodness, man. Like, at the end of the day, too, though, wouldn't you imagine that they would fire Gruden the minute they found out that Tom is looking at houses in Vegas? Like, if you're Goodell, isn't that where you step in and you're like, yeah, all right, this guy's like your new expansion team and Tom Brady's going to spearhead the whole thing? Isn't that something you force?
Yeah, exactly. Like the owner would have the final say. Like, yeah, Brady's coming here. Yes.
Yeah, this deal has been approved. Thanks. $1 zillion contract, whatever you want. All right, we're starting hour number 2 with some baseball preview. Keep it right here on the grid.